The Beverly Hills Country Club always smelled like old money and fresh gardenias. As I walked through the marble foyer, my heels clicking against floors that had witnessed decades of power deals, I could feel the weight of every glance. The annual Los Angeles Elite Gala wasn't just a dinner. It was a coronation ceremony for America's untouchables. I smoothed down my simple black dress, the one I'd worn to my first board meeting 3 years ago. While other women glittered in designer gowns worth more than most people's cars, I chose understated elegance. My mother always said, "Sarah, let your mind shine brighter than your jewelry." The chandelier cast dancing shadows across oil paintings of stern-faced men who'd built this city with railroad money and Hollywood dreams. I wasn't supposed to be here among their descendants, but my invitation was legitimate, printed on cream-colored cardstock with my name in elegant script. Sarah Chun, CEO, Chun Technologies. 28 years old, and I'd built something that mattered. Something that changed lives. My company's AI platform had revolutionized healthcare accessibility for underserved communities. We'd gone from my cramped Chinatown apartment to a billion-dollar valuation in 4 years. Yet standing in this room full of inherited wealth, I felt like that 12-year-old girl again, pressing her nose against the window of the exclusive boarding school I could never afford to attend. The irony wasn't lost on me. Tonight, I was here to celebrate being named Tech Innovator of the Year by the Los Angeles Business Council. But celebration felt premature when I still had to prove I belonged in every room I entered. I navigated through clusters of conversations about yacht acquisitions and Swiss boarding schools, searching for Table 1, the VIP section where the evening's honored guests were seated. My assistant had confirmed the seating arrangement twice. Sarah Chun, Table 1, Seat 4. Right next to the mayor and the governor's wife. The ballroom stretched before me like a golden ocean. Crystal glasses caught the light like tiny stars, and the soft murmur of refined conversations created a symphony of privilege. Waiters in white gloves moved like ghosts between tables, serving champagne that cost more per bottle than my parents made in a week when we first arrived from Guangzhou. I spotted Table 1 in the front, closest to the stage where I'd soon give my acceptance speech. My heart rate quickened, not from nerves about the speech, but from the familiar anxiety of being the only Asian face in a sea of blonde hair and blue blood. As I approached, I recognized several faces from Forbes covers and society pages. Senator Margaret Whitfield was discussing climate policy with animated hand gestures. Tech mogul James Richardson was showing photos of his newest Malibu acquisition. And there, standing like a guardian at the table's edge, was William Hartford III. Even from a distance, Hartford commanded attention. Tall, silver-haired, with the kind of confident posture that comes from never having to prove your worth to anyone. His family's oil empire had shaped California's landscape for generations. His great-great-grandfather had struck black gold in the 1890s. His great-grandfather had built refineries. His grandfather had diversified into real estate. His father had modernized operations. And William? William had inherited it all at 25 and spent the last 2 decades being photographed at charity galas. I checked my phone, 7:47 p.m. The program would begin at 8 o'clock, and I wanted to settle in, review my speech notes one final time, maybe even make small talk with the other honorees. Just blend in for once. Excuse me. I approached Table 1 with what I hoped was a confident smile. I believe I'm seated here tonight. William Hartford III turned toward me with the slow, deliberate movement of someone accustomed to being approached by admirers. His pale blue eyes swept over me like a scanner, processing my appearance, my accent, my place in his world's hierarchy. I'm sorry. His voice carried the crisp pronunciation of East Coast boarding schools and Ivy League debates. There must be some confusion. Sarah Chun. I extended my hand, which he didn't take. Chun Technologies. I'm receiving the Innovation Award tonight. His smile appeared, polite, cold, and sharp as winter air. Oh, how wonderful for you. Technology. He pronounced the word like it tasted slightly sour. Though I'm afraid this table is reserved for. He paused, his eyes traveling from my simple black dress to my modest jewelry, lingering on my face as if calculating my net worth based on bone structure. Well, for people of a certain caliber. The words hit like ice water. Around us, conversations continued, crystal clinked against china, and someone laughed at a joke about polo ponies. But in our little bubble of humiliation, time seemed suspended. Caliber? I kept my voice steady, professional. Years of boardroom negotiations had taught me to maintain composure, even when every instinct screamed to fight or flee. You understand. Hartford's smile widened, showing teeth that had been straightened by the finest orthodontist's money could buy. This is about legacy. About families who've built this city, who've shaped this country for generations. About understanding the weight of real responsibility. His gaze drifted to a table in the far corner, near the kitchen doors, where I noticed several other faces that didn't quite fit the evening's demographic. Tech entrepreneurs, real estate developers, entertainment industry executives. All successful, all wealthy, all relegated to what I now realized was the new money section. Perhaps you'd be more comfortable over there? Hartford gestured with his champagne glass. With the other, entrepreneurs. Heat flooded my cheeks. Not the gentle warmth of embarrassment, but the searing fire of pure humiliation. Every person within earshot had stopped their conversations. I could feel their eyes like spotlights, their whispered assessments cutting through the air. She doesn't belong here. Who invited her? How awkward. Poor thing. I was 12 years old again, standing in the hallway of Preston Academy, while Madison Weatherby announced to everyone within earshot that scholarship students weren't allowed at her sleepover because her mother didn't want those kinds of people in their Bel Air mansion. I was 16 again, being told by my physics teacher that maybe I should consider a more realistic career path than engineering. I was 22 again, watching venture capitalists' eyes glaze over the moment they saw my name on the pitch deck. But this time was different. This time, I wasn't a powerless child or a desperate startup founder. This time, I had built something that mattered, something that couldn't be dismissed or diminished by the color of my skin or the immigrant cadence still faint in my speech. My phone buzzed against my hip. A notification. I almost ignored it. Board meetings and gala dinners had taught me to keep my phone silent during important moments. But something made me glance down. Breaking. Chun Technologies completes acquisition of Hartford Oil Corporation. $12.7 billion deal finalized. My heart stopped, then started again, beating so hard I was certain everyone could hear it. I stared at the screen, reading the headline twice, 3 times before the reality sank in. 6 months of secret negotiations. Dozens of lawyers. Due diligence that had kept me awake for weeks. And it was done. Finally, officially, irrevocably done. I looked up at William Hartford III, who was still smiling his cold, superior smile, still blocking my path to Table 1, still completely unaware that his world had just shifted on its axis. 47 seconds. That's how long it took between his dismissal and the moment everything changed. The master of ceremonies appeared at the podium like an actor taking his mark. Robert Kellerman, society fixture and professional glad-hander, adjusted his bow tie and cleared his throat. The room's chatter faded to an expectant hush. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. His voice carried across the ballroom with practiced authority. Before we begin tonight's program, I have an extraordinary announcement. I remained frozen near Table 1, my phone still glowing in my hand, my heart hammering against my ribs. Hartford stood beside me, his champagne glass raised halfway to his lips, his attention now focused on the stage. Just moments ago, we received word of one of the largest corporate acquisitions in California history. Kellerman's smile was broad, genuine. Chun Technologies, founded by tonight's Innovation Award recipient, has successfully acquired Hartford Oil Corporation in a $12.7 billion transaction. The silence was absolute. Not the polite quiet of an audience waiting for more information, but the stunned vacuum that follows an earthquake. I watched Hartford's face drain of color, watched his hand begin to tremble almost imperceptibly around his champagne flute. This acquisition represents not just a business transaction, but a passing of the torch from one generation of California leaders to the next. Kellerman's eyes found me in the crowd. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please join me in welcoming our evening's host and the newest major industrial leader in Los Angeles, Sarah Chun. The applause started slowly, uncertainly, then built like a wave. I could see people processing, calculating, realizing. The young Asian woman they'd dismissed or ignored was now one of the most powerful people in the room. I walked toward the stage, each step measured and deliberate. Not rushing to claim my moment, not shrinking from the attention. Just walking with the quiet confidence of someone who had finally, undeniably arrived. Behind me, I heard Hartford's champagne glass shatter against the marble floor. The podium felt solid beneath my hands, the microphone cool against my lips. Below me, 400 faces stared up with expressions ranging from curiosity to shock to something that might have been respect. Thank you. My voice carried clearly through the sound system, steady and sure. When I received the invitation to tonight's gala, I was told it was about celebrating innovation, about recognizing those who are building the future of our city and our country. I found Hartford in the crowd. He stood exactly where I'd left him, but his posture had changed. The confident bearing was gone, replaced by something smaller, more uncertain. What I've learned tonight is that innovation isn't just about technology or business strategy. It's about challenging assumptions. It's about refusing to accept that someone else gets to decide where you belong. Scattered nods throughout the audience. The mayor was smiling. The governor's wife was taking notes. Hartford Oil has been a California institution for over a century. Under the Hartford family's leadership, it built infrastructure, created jobs, and helped power our state's growth. That legacy deserves respect. I paused, letting the words settle. But legacy without evolution becomes stagnation. Power without purpose becomes privilege. And privilege without responsibility becomes exactly the kind of thinking that holds our society back. More applause now, stronger and more sustained. I could see phones being raised, recording this moment for social media, for news reports, for the permanent record of how power shifts in America. Chin Technologies didn't acquire Hartford Oil to destroy what came before. We acquired it to build what comes next. Clean energy initiatives, sustainable extraction technologies, infrastructure that serves all communities, not just the wealthy ones. My eyes found Hartford again. We're going to honor the past while creating a future that actually includes everyone. The standing ovation started at the back of the room and swept forward like a tide. But I wasn't finished. To everyone in this room who's ever been told they don't belong, that they're not the right caliber, that they should be comfortable somewhere else, I see you. Your dreams matter. Your work matters. You matter. The reception line felt endless. Handshakes, congratulations, business cards pressed into my palm with whispered invitations to lunch, to golf, to private meetings where real deals were made. The same people who'd watched Hartford dismiss me were now competing for my attention. I accepted each introduction graciously, professionally. No gloating, no pointed comments about the evening's earlier humiliation. That wasn't who I wanted to be, even in victory. Miss Chun. The voice was quiet, uncertain. I turned to find William Hartford III standing at the edge of the crowd, his earlier confidence completely evaporated. Up close, he looked older, smaller somehow. Mr. Hartford. I kept my tone neutral. He struggled with words that clearly didn't come naturally. I owe you an apology. My behavior tonight was inexcusable. Around us, conversations continued, but I could sense people listening, watching, waiting to see how this moment would unfold. You were protecting what you thought was yours, I said quietly. I understand that impulse. No. He shook his head. I was being exactly what my grandfather warned me never to become. He built Hartford Oil with his hands, you know. Started with nothing but ambition and a borrowed truck. He would have been ashamed of me tonight. The admission surprised me. For a moment, I saw past the privilege to something more human underneath. Your grandfather sounds like he was a remarkable man. He was. And he would have recognized a kindred spirit in you immediately. Hartford managed a small, genuine smile. I hope you'll consider keeping some of our people on. They're good people, even if their leadership has been lacking. I studied his face, searching for manipulation or strategy. I found only regret and something that might have been respect. We'll take care of everyone, Mr. Hartford. That's what good companies do. He nodded, started to walk away, then turned back. For what it's worth, Ms. Chun, you've earned your seat at any table you choose. Later, much later, I stood alone on the country club's terrace, looking out over the lights of Los Angeles. The gala had ended, the congratulations had been exchanged, the business cards filed away. In the morning, there would be press conferences and board meetings, and the endless work of integrating two major corporations. But right now, in the quiet aftermath, I could finally process what had really happened tonight. My phone buzzed with a text from my mother. Saw the news. Your father and I are proud. But we were proud before the acquisition, too. I smiled, remembering her hands teaching me to balance equations at our kitchen table in Chinatown, her voice telling me that respect was earned through character, not inherited through bloodlines. The real victory wasn't buying Hartford Oil. It wasn't the moment of Hartford's public humiliation or the standing ovation afterward. The real victory was walking into that room as myself, unapologetically, completely myself, and refusing to shrink when someone tried to make me smaller. I thought about the other faces I'd seen at the entrepreneur's table, the ones who'd been quietly relegated to the margins. Tomorrow I'd make some calls. There were other galas, other exclusive rooms, other opportunities to open doors that had been kept locked. The Beverly Hills Country Club still smelled like gardenias and old money. But tonight it also smelled like change. And change, I was learning, had its own kind of power. The kind that couldn't be inherited or bought or dismissed with a cold smile and a gesture toward the corner table. The kind that lasted.